And welcome back to the Factor Uncensored. President Trump is now threatening to slap a 100% tariff on all foreign-made movies. The president claims he's targeting films made outside of the U.S., saying foreign tax breaks are hurting American production. Studio executives warn this could slow or even shut down some projects altogether. The president didn't say how it would work or when it would start. Joining us to talk about it, filmmaker Shawn. Glad to have you here on the Factor Uncensored. Good news, bad news, what the president is doing. Your thoughts, your perspective.
From a filmmaker, I think it's good news. Now, I'll explain why. First, let's understand what's happening. There's two different ways this happens. Films that have IP and ownership outside, like Godzilla -1, coming into aggregates in the U.S., and a tariff is applied towards those films. Now, Trump's position is when we have films made here and they go to China, we're blocked. Most of our films don't even get in there. So his position is we want to be tough on them, they won't be as tough on us, and see if we can negotiate. That's typical Trump. The other part is us making films over there and therefore cutting the costs and not allowing Americans to actually work. Union now is not a part of the film as much because they can't police it. They can't go over there. SAG can't go over there. So now people are actually spending less, film companies, because they're hiring people cheaper and they're not using Americans in their film sets.
Do we see the unions, SAG-AFTRA, pricing themselves out of the industry with their requirements? And we know that Georgia was a safe haven for a minute, but now even Marvel is pulling out of Georgia, going to Europe to make their movies that we all think, you know, is Anytown, USA. But do you think it's more of a union problem hurting the big picture?
SAG is really trying, especially with the micro-budgeted films. So let me give you an example. I did a film called Narcos. I've directed and produced it. And we shot a guy in the film on the end of a pier. It was a drug deal, and he falls in the water. We were required to have, that's men that were actually underwater with the oxygen mask by SAG to protect him. And that cost us close to $4,000 for a guy falling in the water. Another scenario, I was doing a horse film. For every horse, and we have 12 horses in this film, every horse we were required to have a backup horse in case that horse got tired, and a second vet for each of those horses. And that's what the union required us, which makes the film so incredibly expensive. So the big cost is the union cost, and I think you're right there. How can we monitor that and bring that down? But like I said, I think a lot of companies go overseas because SAG won't police them as much, and they may be able to get away with things.
Now, the Texas legislature recently passed a multi-billion-dollar package to attract the film industry here, major productions here to the state of Texas. Is that for naught now?
No, I think that's a nice approach. And I say nice. A Sound of Willow film I just directed and produced in Round Top in Central Texas. We applied for that. Now, all that really does is give an opportunity for us to get our money back on taxes we spent. So if I took everybody out to eat and I spent $300, I get 20% of that back. That's it. What we need grants for people to say, I can have half my film paid for. That's what we need.
And here in Texas, clearly a right-to-work state, would SAG-AFTRA have that much influence here if they started making major productions in Texas?
Yes, they do have that, because if I want Tom Sizemore, which has been in a couple of my films,
he's a member.
He's a member. Therefore, I have to pay him a certain rate, which is fine. But now, as a SAG member, he comes aboard. My whole film has to be SAG. Now I have to follow all these rules. So his cost isn't just him. The cost is all the things I have to do according to the union, which is good for me and sometimes too expensive.
Well, if you had pockets like George Lucas, he said, screw the union.
Yeah,
he had
exactly.
worked with SAG for decades, since, what, 1977, the first Star Wars. Thank you, Shawn. Good to see you.